As the Kansas City Chiefs head back onto the practice field, we are going to cover all the action that took place today and the rumors surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs. But before we do dive into that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's dive right into this video. So jumping right into it, today was basically National Media Day for the Kansas City Chiefs, where basically the ESPN NFL Network came in and they have a couple days where they cover certain teams in training camp. Today was the Kansas City Chiefs Day, and early on reports from Adam Teicher, who he was formerly in the Kansas City Chiefs media, he reported today saying that Kansas City Chiefs had offensive struggles throughout the day, which would be sloppy play, miscues, false starts, overthrows, you name it. The Kansas City Chiefs offense happened to tend to struggle today. But from Pete Sweeney, he did mention they did tend to catch on afterwards, and then it was not Kansas City Chiefs of old, but you saw plays and you saw them getting back into rhythm. But what probably got them back into the rhythm was Coach Reed basically hammered down the nail, and apparently after 3 straight false starts, he said, "Hey, you guys off the field. We're gonna let y'all chill, think this out." You know, some type of thing like that, which Eric Bieniemy mentioned. He's never seen that happen in a Coach Reed tenure while he's been with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he just pulled the starters straight out. What do I make of this initially? It's camp. Every day is not going to be perfect. The best thing about this is correct those mistakes now and don't have those issues when September comes along. You'd rather want to see these problems now or through preseason and be like, okay, we got something we need to correct. Just because a team struggles now doesn't mean it'll struggle in a month, because that's basically where we're at right now. We're a month away from kickoff, and you need to tighten up some screws and everything needs to be fixed. Not saying Kansas City has a lot of problems, but every team has a lot of issues they need to address. And if it happens to be false start penalties, if it happens to be correcting some throws, drop passes, things like that, and it doesn't seem like it's clicking in that sequence, and Reed felt like he needs to pull them out and be like, hey, come on, guys, let's get our stuff together. I'm not going to keep you on the field if you're going to perform like that. It's what needs to be done too, and it's also probably a message too. I doubt it happens in live action, but let's say it happens in a live game and it's a consistent thing. Reed's letting them know we're not tolerating that. It's you will be pulled if you have bad play, you happen to make a drop pass. I don't want to put Mahomes on this, but overthrow, 3 interceptions in a row. I highly doubt if Mahomes plays bad, he's getting pulled. But you guys get where I'm going with this. I think he had to make his presence known that this will not be tolerated, and we need to correct it, specifically this year and now, because he knows how much of a threat the AFC is, because the AFC is gunning for the Kansas City Chiefs with how deep this division is and with how strengthened up he got. He's seen everything that happens, and he knows you cannot make any mistakes, and if we have them, correct them. So I have no issue with it right now, and I'm not worried whatsoever. Coach Reed is one of, if not the best coach in the league, so he will find a way to get it turned around, and quickly too. As I've mentioned before on this channel, my only concern is, and we've seen it throughout his tenure and even on the defensive side or even on the offensive side of the ball, where they go in little droughts. He always finds a way to get them out of the droughts. I'm curious on how September starts, because before last year, Coach Reed was the coach who we can start right away and we would have a good record. And last year, they didn't have a terrible record, but it just wasn't that quick start that we're used to. And with this new team being young and new and learning a new system for all these young players, how will we get that start? Will it tend to be like last year, or will we go back to the old days where we start 4-0, something like that, 4-1, get to that quick start, and everything is great? I'm very curious how the month of September is going to be. The month of September scares me the most, one, because it is a hard stretch to start the month, but also two, with all these new guys, you just can't expect them to be guns a-blazing out there and be all pros right away. As much as we want these rookies to be great, and they will be great, to have it happen in September would be a crazy thought, but it's not unrealistic either. It's just you got to have legit standards for these players, and for them to be you want Trent McDuffie to have 4 interceptions in the first month. Unrealistic. George Karlaftis, 4 sacks in the first month. Unrealistic. Sky Moore, 5 touchdowns in the first month. Unrealistic. Things got to progress with time. And that's my only concern right now is September is right around the corner. These young players are getting a grasp of the playbook right away, and they are performing really well. So it's positive to see, but will we get like their highest potential in September? That I'm not quite sure of yet, but I do know they will produce in some fashion, but I do know there will be some struggles too heading into September. It's just going to be fun and exciting to see, and it's going to be something new a lot of Chiefs Kingdom hasn't experienced in a while since Coach Reed came to KC. So I do expect little struggles, but doesn't mean I expect anything drastic to where KC is going to start very terrible. They're still, with the head coach of Andy Reid, a quarterback of Patrick Mahomes. They will be in every game, and they will still be a legit contender for the Super Bowl. They'll be good this year. These offensive struggles don't concern me whatsoever. So we got a little news in the rumor mill, and it's regarding Kareem Hunt. He has requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland has denied that request, and two, Kareem also mentioned that he would love to sign an extension. It just looks unlikely, so he does want to play in Cleveland, but right now it doesn't look like he's getting his contract extension, so he has requested to be traded. Of course, we all know where I'm going with this too. Chiefs Kingdom is in a frantic because they want Kareem Hunt back. And if you would have asked me before the draft too, I was all aboard that bandwagon. Honestly, and I understand why Chiefs Kingdom is feeling this way too. Like, we haven't had a running back like Kareem, and we felt like our time was cut short with him. It's like you lost a girl that you didn't expect to lose. So I completely understand. And there's moments, even like before I made this video, it's like, can I think of a legit scenario to have Kareem back on this team? And right now, no. And as crazy as that sounds, like I mentioned, if you would have asked me before the draft or the offseason too, and actually I have videos on it too, I would have been all hands on deck of bringing Kareem Hunt back on this team. But now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's healthy, he's looking good. I know a lot of you guys aren't buying into him. I know a lot of you are hurt that we spent the first round pick on him. But if he shows out and does 1,000 yards this year and double-digit touchdowns, that's productivity in the running back position we haven't had in a while. And then also, too, even though I'm considering these guys bubble roster spots now, but Ronald Jones and Jerick McKinnon, Ronald Jones we have yet to see, but he's basically a great speed back, and he's shown in the past he can produce. It's going to be a question mark to see how he does in the system if he makes this team, of course. But he's also another depth back. And then Jerick McKinnon, who we fell in love with last year throughout our playoff stretch, he is another good depth back. But the reason I'm saying no to Kareem Hunt is because of Isaiah Pacheco. I really believe he's not just making this team, he's going to have an impact this year. And why I said Ronald Jones could be on the bubble and why Jerick McKinnon can be on the bubble is because this is how good this kid is doing, where he might be our number 2 back. Shit, he probably is our number 2 back. He's been progressing every day and getting better, and now he's running like plays with the ones now on the offense. We're not talking kick returners, we're not talking with the 2s, with the 3s. Reed is drawing plays up for him with the ones, and he's actually producing and showing out too. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, he's gonna be a threat in this offense. He's gonna be somewhat hard to keep off the field, like I talk about with Sky Moore. If he shows what Kansas City's biggest question with him is, he did it in Rutgers, but they want to see him do it on the NFL levels. Like, can he legit break tackles and can he get away from defenders? If he does that in the preseason for 3 games, maybe even a glimpse, he's your number 2 running back, and they will find Ronald Jones or Jerick McKinnon expendable. Probably Ronald Jones too, because they're going to go with the guy who has a veteran presence in this team, and also, too, the older vet that they can learn from. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, and Isaiah Pacheco all mentioned that they've learned a lot from McKinnon. So Ronald Jones can legit be on the roster bubble right now, and it's all because Isaiah Pacheco's taking a grown man's job. Now, let's talk about another guy who's catching eyes and running with the ones, too, and that is Noah Gray, which I'm glad to see him catching on, too. I had high hopes and high potential for him last year, and I loved him as a solid number 2 tight end. And then Jody Fortson came along, and then he had his unfortunate injury. This tight end group has surprising depth that not a lot of us expected. Of course, you got Travis Kelce. He ain't going anywhere. He's your number 1. Write it in pen. Sketch it in stone. Do what you need to do. He ain't going anywhere. But then you got like this surprising battle at number 2. We all think it's handed to Jody Fortson, and of course, he's recovering from that injury he had throughout camp. And then you got Noah Gray, and then you got Blake Bell, who has been solid in the receiving game, and of course, he's probably our best pass blocking tight end. this is depth there too. And I don't know if there's going to be an odd man out, but Noah Gray is showing, hey, I'm going to be that tight end number 2. He's put in a few solid days where he's been a receiving threat and Mahomes has been trusting him too, where now he's running with the ones. My only main concern, and this is basically just a personal reason because of how much I love the player in Jody Fortson, is I hope this does not put Jody Fortson on a roster bubble because I really want Jody Fortson on this team. Of course, he's got to get healthy and he's got to get right. But now you're putting me in a toss-up situation of who would I prefer, Noah Gray or Jody Fortson. And maybe you guys can discuss it in the comments and let me know what tight end you prefer. But I really love Jody Fortson. I think as of a potential and a ceiling, I think his might be higher, but I don't know. Noah Gray's starting to turn heads too, where he might be showing he has a higher ceiling too. It's going to be interesting to see going forward. It's also a good dilemma to be in because if you can keep both guys, and like we know, Travis Kelce can't play forever, but I do think he has a good 3 to 4 years left. If somehow, some way, you can keep both of these guys for the next 3 years, that would be great. And you can roll in with 2 tight ends. They've learned from one of the best tight ends, if not best tight end in NFL history. And then, of course, there's going to be a drop-off, especially when you move on from Travis Kelce in the future. But if you can run with the 2 tight ends and Fortson and Gray, that would be great to move forward. And I know Reed is probably thinking of the future too, because like we just said, Travis Kelce can't play forever, unfortunately. I wish he could. He looks like he could with getting these 1,000-yard receiving 6 straight seasons in a row. But there's times you got to think about the future, and not saying Travis Kelce's retiring anytime soon, but when you got 2 young studs like this, you got to find a way to keep them both on the team, and definitely when they're both producing. I would just be a little hurt if Jody Fortson didn't make this team. Probably a little more hurt, like let's say Noah Gray didn't make the team. Noah Gray, if you would have asked me a month before, I'd have been like, okay, I can see Noah Gray not making this team. But now that he's producing and making plays, it's like, okay, what are we going to do here? And I think Blake Bell has a legit spot on this team because, like I mentioned, he's a great pass blocker. He takes Mahomes' quarterback direct snaps, and I think that is pivotal in games since we don't want Mahomes to get injured, and Reed just doesn't call those type of plays for Mahomes anymore since his knee injury. And he is our go-to guy in that position. Not saying anyone else can't learn to take a snap under center, but also, too, you don't want to be in the middle of a game and let's say Noah Gray goes under center and he fumbles a snap and you're like, oh, shit, what do we do? So I think Blake Bell has a spot on this team. Travis Kelce, of course, and there's between Jody Fortson and Noah Gray, and it's, do you run on 4 tight ends? They might just do that. And it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see in camp cut down what this tight end group turns out to be. And to wrap up this video, you know we are going to dive into the play of the day. Now, there's been many plays of the day going out, and it's not because of the offensive struggles or anything like that. But Justin Reed, you are one ridiculous man, kicking a 65-yard field goal, basically in free time in camp and things like that. This kid got a leg. He is coming for Harrison Butker's job. I'm just playing. He ain't doing any of that. But to see, I'm not going to say no average Joe because he's a professional athlete. But even professional athletes can't kick a 65-yard field goal. We've seen Chad Ochocinco kick a 20 to 30-yard field goal, and we thought that was impressive. Justin Reed over here making 65 yards look like a cakewalk. And that's impressive to see, and that's why it is my play of the day for the day. But thank you, Chiefs Kingdom, for checking into this video. I am checking out, but before I do that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I will keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And with that, y'all take care.